This time in Ask the Council, Captain Marvel and the Star Force. With Bree Larson about to burst out into the cosmos and onto the silver screen, with Sam Jackson's Nick Fury at her side, one of Marvel's most iconic yet mysterious heroes is about to reveal herself to the public. Before you go back to the 90s and punch Granny Skrulls in the subway, let's take a minute to find out who are Captain Marvel's Star Force. The Star Force first appeared almost 30 years ago in Avengers 346, fleshing out Marvel Comics' alien team by giving them their own supergroup, just like the Avengers or the X-Men on Earth. In the comics, the Star Force is a group created to serve the Supreme Intelligence, the absolute ruler of the Kree. Although they didn't know it, the Star Force were pawns in a desperate game by the Supreme Intelligence, because villains are gonna villain. The monsters being believed that the Kree had actually stopped evolving and were doomed as a race. In order to kickstart their evolution, it triggered an intergalactic war between the Kree and the rival Shi'ar Empire. The Shi'ar Empire ultimately dropped a genetic bomb on the Kree world of Hala, killing millions by forcing the survivors to evolve or die. As for the Star Force, they were subsumed into the Shi'ar military. Now, as with most adaptations, the classic comic lineup is a bit different than the version we are getting on the silver screen. So let's break it down for a second. Captain Atlas, Dr. Minerva, Ronan the Accuser, and Korra the Pursuer are all part of the original comic book team first appearing in Avengers 346, and are also part of the MCU's movie squad, although with some power modifications and new friends. Supreme War, Ultimus, and Shatterex all appear to be absent in the film version, but were part of the original comic book team-up. It is not uncommon for Marvel Studios to make some changes to those groups. Lineups change according to story needs, and that really does appear what has happened for this film. Let's take a look at the MCU version of the Kree Star Force. First up, Korra the Pursuer. Korra is the second in command of the Star Force. In the comics, he was a Kree cybergeneticist who experimented on himself in order to play a part in the Kree Skrull War. He possesses basic superhuman strength, stamina, and durability, but his greatest skill is a low-level telepathic power that allows him to track down his prey. As with Ronan the Accuser, who we'll talk about in a second, we know what the future has in store for Korra, proving that this particular Star Force member will ultimately remain loyal to Ronan above the Kree Empire. Let's move on to Atlas, also known as Captain Atlas. Algenis Perez Solo plays Atlas, a Kree villain who's sometimes referred to as Captain Atlas. A ruthless and powerful warrior, he's one of the few Kree warriors to briefly wield Mar-Vell's Negabands, the powerful gauntlets that tap into interdimensional energy. But he became disillusioned with the Star Force when he learned he was being manipulated by the Supreme Intelligence and became a warlord in his own right. In Captain Marvel, Atlas is one of the team's snipers and a weapons specialist. You can be forgiven if you haven't heard of Bron Char. He was a key warrior introduced in the 1998 event Live, Kree or Die. He has a curious distinction of being one of the few people who have successfully destroyed one of Captain America's shield. Although it should be noted that Cap had actually lost his traditional shield, and this was a replica from the Smithsonian, so not the same amount of points. The character has only appeared in a handful of comics, and is being described by Jude Law as simply a blue giant. With so little backstory with the character, Room Tempte can essentially portray him however he wishes. Let's move on to Minerva, one of Captain Marvel's lesser-known villains. In the comics, she's a ruthless scientist with no qualms about experimenting upon lesser races such as humans, and she also possesses basic energy manipulation that seems analogous to Captain Marvel's. She's faded into the background in recent years, popping up now and then as an infrequent foe who simply wishes to conduct dangerous, unsanctioned experiments. In the movie, Gemma Chan is playing Minerva, and her role in the MCU version of the Star Force will be as the team's main sniper and long-range specialist. And then there's Ronan the Accuser. Like Korra, Ronan is a Kree we've seen before, played by Lee Pace in the first installment of Guardians of the Galaxy. A high-ranking member of the Kree military judicial system, that's why he has the title The Accuser, Ronan has long been a massive thorn in the side of Earth's heroes, brawling with everyone from the Avengers to the Fantastic Four to Captain Marvel. In the comics, the Supreme Intelligence recruits Ronan into the Star Force in the wake of the assassination of the Kree Emperors, tasking the superhero team with murdering the Shi'ar Empress Lilandra for revenge. And then there's probably the most interesting unknown character in the film. That would be Jude Law. And we don't really know what to call him. Although his character remains a mystery, he's likely one of two people, either Yon-Rogg or Mar-Vell. Interesting, the two characters he's been linked to in the past historically both had an affinity for questioning the Kree Supreme Intelligence and turning against their own people. Jude Law has long been rumored to be playing the original Captain Marvel in the MCU, Mar-Vell, but it's also possible that he's playing Yon-Rogg, a Kree military leader who ultimately becomes one of Carol Danvers' foes. The notion that Law is playing Yon-Rogg has been supported by a leaked Funko Pop that displays his name as such, but that toy figure was quickly changed before its official release. Then there was another story that seemed to indicate some of Marvel's own URLs on their site referred to him as Mar-Vell, so it's still unclear who Jude Law is playing in Captain Marvel, but whoever it is, he's bound to be a major character in Carol's life. The future of the Star Force in the MCU is still anyone's guess. We can surmise that since we know there is a future for the MCU cosmic side of the house, that they are not very likely to be one of those one-and-done baddies, at least not all of them. A massive universe needs super teams, even evil ones, and we know for a fact that Ronan and Korra make it to the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, so the possibility of them serving as a foil for other cosmic characters is pretty high. What do you guys think? Are you excited to see Captain Marvel? And what do you think of the Star Force? Not being a huge fan of them in the comics does make it pretty easy to accept what they are giving us, but it's impossible to know until we get to see Captain Marvel and get all the missing details. Tell me what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you press like below, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you won't get any updates. See you next time.